One. There we go. Really?
There it is.
We got to hear it again now. Now you recognize Matt Brown, right, Gill?
Oh,
You're like,
that's clearly your work.
Yes, I played that on my Fender Stratocaster.
Oh,
well
knowledge.
done.
Wow.
Golf club for that one.
Fender Stratocaster. Wow. All right, so we're only showing one Wong teaser leg. The Rams tease them down through the 7-3 against the Titans. This has been shifting all in all kinds of directions, though, because we had other ones at different points here, right? The Eagles were one at one point.
It's kind of why I just listed everything, because a lot of books you're going to see some of the differing numbers, whether it's a 1.5 versus ones we have listed, or 2.5 versus the 3 we have listed.
Like the Niners, they're not one. They're not listed. Are the Niners 2.5 point dogs at home?
It's pick at DraftKings.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
And they are 1 point dogs at a couple of other books. They are 1 point favorites at a couple of books.
All right. So no, in other words.
So that lends pretty heavily to people thinking that Kyler Murray's not going to play.
Yes. And Cleveland is no longer a Wong teaser leg because they're at 3. And
What's funny is it's 2.5 everywhere here in Vegas, but
not everywhere.
That's right. That's why I wanted to put it down, because you're right. Like, it might be just 3 at just DraftKings.
So it's a developing situation. But right now, the Rams. What did you call the Rams teaser leg this week? What did you call it?
Yes, it is the teaser of the century of the week.
I thought it was the God teaser of the century of the week.
So who have you already tied the Rams in with in your account?
Rams and the Eagles, but that was when the Eagles were at 3. So that was up to 9. Rams and the Packers, but that was when the Packers were at 2.5. So that's up to 8.5. We should mention that repost came down two to, because there was 3 at some places, Packers 3.
I got 3 and teased it up at 3.
Yeah.
You got 2.5.
So 2 points at some books, at least 1.5 at others on the repost there, and not a shocker in the least bit to me after that Chiefs performance.
I mean, that's pick'em, or I mean, at best you're getting Chiefs 1. That's pick'em at most shops from what I'm looking at.
How, after what we watched yesterday, how in the world can the Chiefs be a favorite against the Packers? Like, just how?
Right.
And that's where I was like, that's where I jumped on it early. You know, not often do you bet a game for the next week when the team still hasn't played that week already. But I'm like, that line's only going to get worse, and that's what happened.
Well, and here's the thing: it could still get worse because there are people who still wait on the official news before they bet. So,
right.
Like it is not official that Devontae Adams is back yet, right? Even though they said he'll be back Thursday. So when that actually gets announced, it wouldn't surprise me if this thing like if you want to do a 6.5, you better do it now, because when that gets announced, it'll move to pick everywhere, like you said.
Yeah,
like it'll move to pick everywhere.
Sit down, Austin Riley.
I'm gonna lose. He had to hit it in this inning. I feel like you guys got it.
It's baseball. We're not going to see our players ever again. So like I don't like
after you do a couple errands.
Our show ends in an hour and a half. We don't have time. We won't see him again.
That's true. We'll only get to the 4th inning.
If they win after we're gone, it still counts.
It has to. Yeah, it has to, because we only have time for one at bat in here.
If we look, the Saints. I mean, look, that could in theory, I think, maybe move to 6.5 before it's all said and done. I mean, that Falcons team is real bad, and then now with no Ridley, they're in bad shape.
You laying 6 points for Trevor Siemian though? Like I think that's a game already. Like I want nothing to do with this week.
Like
the Saints defense is really good. I get that, and you're right. The Falcons are a disaster, but quarterback play is still so important.
Let me just ask a blanket question. Let's get beyond the teaser for a second. Do you trust any of these teams? Like, look at below, not the Rams. Let's take the Rams off the page here, but other teaser options. Do you trust Trevor Siemian laying those points? Do you trust the Ravens against the Vikings? Do you trust the Dolphins against the Texans? Do you trust Big Ben on Monday night against the Bears? The answer for me is a resounding no to all of them.
I think it's a great question, Gil, because you're right. There's not many I trust there. And when we talk, especially when we talk teasers, and we play a lot of teasers, like you got to have a lot of trust if you're, to be able to do what we're doing with teasers, especially if you're anchoring one in multiple legs. Like Matt and I've already done that with the Rams. But you're right. I think there's not many teams on here that you can feel that confident about.
As low as I am on the Steelers long term. That Bear squad is horrible.
Do you trust Big Ben Roethlisberger more against the Bears on Monday night or the Dolphins against a Davis Mills-led Texans team?
I would trust the Dolphins more.
Me too.
If it was Davis Mills.
If it was, well, it's Davis Mills, because if it's Tyrod Taylor, it's not even a question.
Yeah.
But yes, that to me, by the way, that has Survivor implications too, right? Do you take a 1-7 team in Survivor against Davis Mills? Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you have to consider it.
I mean, because again, you're going to go back and look at that box score, and you're going to look at that. You're going to look at that final score, and that is not indicative at all. If you didn't watch that game, again, over 74% of their offense came in the fourth quarter. Every single point they scored came in the fourth quarter. It was after the Rams had waved the white flag and the game was over.
Talking about the Texans here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're bad. Like bad. And so, yeah, I mean, I have something in with the Dolphins. I got the worst number because I got it 7 down to 1. I didn't think at all it would ever move the other direction, but yeah. So I got it 7 down to 1.
What about what's the line that makes you that raises your eyebrows a little? Like the Eagles Chargers doesn't seem weird to you?
It
1
moving
point
as much as it did. Like when it was at 3, it made sense to me.
I agree. I think the amount of movement that game and then the Dallas one have had over the past 24 hours when like what's changed? You know,
what's the Cowboys now?
I mean, Cowboys are. I mean, I got
all
an
the way up to
8.5. 8.5 last night, and it's 9.5 or 10 everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't heard anything more about Dak Prescott
assuming
today.
Dak, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet it assuming them, so I really hope he does play, or else that line's going to be way off. But I don't know. I mean, the other one, man, I was looking at Football Outsiders today. I could not believe the DVOA difference in Cleveland and Cincinnati. I don't know if either one of you checked that out.
Cincinnati high, Cleveland lower than you expected?
Yes.
Cleveland,
as far as Cleveland better, Cleveland better than I expected. Cincinnati not nearly as good.
Oh, other way around. Cleveland, you have to wait for their injury report every week. You don't know what you're getting with these guys.
You really don't, and that's what I would probably be interested on here. But like we talked about, the same thing last week. It's what you just said, Gil. Like there's too many important guys banged up that I don't know how can you feel comfortable putting money on that team right now? I still think if you could find, as far as what do we have on here right now, what to bet.
The Eagles are at 2 at DraftKings, so that's you're getting that all the way to 8 at that point. So like the Eagles are at 2 at DraftKings, so that is at least one that makes it a little bit more.
I go Packers at a 6.5 though. Like whatever. I still think like Gil, you said I don't think they should be catching points against the Chiefs anyways. Go 6.5 teaser on Rams and Packers. I have no problem with anybody doing that.
And Matt, what you said a couple segments ago about the Chiefs too, like. Can you even picture them? Like before, we were like, all right, well, there's the Chiefs. They could show up any game and just be the Chiefs. Do you even think that anymore? Like there's not a shred of me that thinks they can show up and all of a sudden become that team again.
No, and it's I think it's one of those things where we were also talking about that there's like really good evidence as to kind of how to play defense against them now, and everybody's doing the exact same approach, and it's working, right? Like you drop back.
Don't blitz him.
You drop back. You basically double team Kelsey so that he can't just so that they can't just ding 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 all the way down the field, and you dare them to run. And just if they'll run it, then like you said, they had success when they just ran the whole one drive. Yeah, but it's like you dare them to run, and then you just go from there.
Lombardi says he's the only coach he knows, Andy Reid, that just he can't stand 10 yards a play on the ground. He just can't stand it.